Welcome back to Adobe Live and to Photoshop Pro Tips with me, pixipui. And yes, you did read the title correctly. We're doing animation in Photoshop. So that means it's not only After Effects that can have that fun. You can do it in Photoshop too, but with really, really cool brushes. So it's going to be awesome. First of all, hello, Prod, CJ, Rim, Proxy. Hope you all had fun in Anna's stream earlier. Looked amazing. Adorable little fox. Right now, I do actually have some extra stuff for you today. We are going to be using a plugin, which is actually in the description of the YouTube. It is free. Don't worry. It's good. It's good. So we're using that. You don't have to use it. But over time, especially when you're animating, eventually you might want to have some shortcuts to help you do stuff. So we're going to be looking over, one, how to animate in Photoshop, how to get the plugins going, how to get our workspace set up, and ultimately, how to do this. So this is frame by frame animation, but we can still do, you know, those really fun, like stock video animation stuff. We can do that in Photoshop too. Most of them were actually done in Photoshop, actually. So we'll be able to use the workspace, use the plugins, use our knowledge of 2s and 1s. We'll briefly go over that for those that weren't there for the Animation 301 series, where we kind of went over that a little bit. But thankfully, you don't need to know how to animate because we're going to do it all here. Woohoo! Alejandro, Shuvo, Robert. Free is a price I like. Oh, yes, Oliver. I don't have my fan, but I'm just going to use my hand. Oh, yes, Oliver. Yes. RB, please. Okie dokie. So we also have mini games because I love making little mini games for us to use. So if you'd like to use the same file that I am, check the description box of the YouTube. There's some downloadables for you. They're all really, really cute. Really, really cute. Oh, I've got something. There we go. Let's turn that off. Ha! Right. So if you download your little minigame downloadables, you'll find that you've got something called minigame 1. You got a small one because we like pequeño, and we got a bigger one just in case you want a little bit more room. That way we can mix and match. We've got 2 mini games, so we're kind of going to go over 2 different parts. 1, how to make it move and how to make it move how we want it to move, and then 2, line practice, how to create a guide, and with our knowledge of what we're going to learn in the first half, how to make it follow it, maybe do something cool, maybe go really fast, maybe go really slow, maybe do a little bit of each. But this way we've got our own little practice ground for it. Yes, thank you, Robert. Okie dokie. So first things first, once you've got your file open, we're going to talk about the plugin overview. So if you do want to use the plugin, now's the time to go ahead and grab that and get that installed. If it doesn't appear straight away, you want to go to Window, you want to go to Plugin, and you'll see something called Frame Bar right there. If you click on Toolbar, it should pop open for you. If it doesn't, it might be floating. All of these are floating. You can move it to where you want it to go, though bear in mind, when you do this, plus the timeline that we're going to be using, it's going to kind of make your workspace a little bit smaller. So do bear that in mind. So we've got our toolbar, which if you do forget what it does halfway through, we've got these little 3 lines on the side. We can click open toolbar settings, which I'm casually blocking, I've noticed. And it will actually tell you what each of the icons mean, which is really, really helpful. So we will go over some of these as we start it, but at least we've got our plugin open. If you do want to take this a step further, you do have another plugin you can use, which I think I have mentioned in the description as well. It's more of the same, but its intuitivity kind of makes it a little bit more like After Effects in terms of the UI. But we're going to go back to our frame one first. Okie doke. So we've got our ease in, linear, and ease out. But how do we animate it? Firstly, let's make a new layer. We don't want it to think that we're accidentally animating on the background. And we need to open the timeline. Now, if yours isn't already open, head over to Window and look for Timeline. There it is. When you click that, see, here we go. We've already got a slightly smaller little space here. We are actually greeted with two options. We could either use video timeline or frame animation. And ironically, we're not using frame animation. We're going for the other one. We want to use the video timeline. It's a little bit, there's more things we can do in there. So let's click on create video timeline. I'll minimize this one just so you can see what we're working with here. There we go. So we've got our layer one. It can't see our background layer, which is good. If it can, that's okay. We can hide it in our own way. Welcome on in, Ryan. We've got layer one, but we need to edit this a little bit more. We're going to be animating on 24 frames per second. To make sure the computer knows that, we head over to the right, click on these three little lines once more, and we're going to go over to set timeline frame rate. We want 24. So this means technically we'd only have to do 24 drawings for 1 second. It's not bad. Drag it out, make it smaller, make it wider. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go in. Ready, layer one, layer one. We will totally name these layers. No, we won't. Actually, this is the only time that we really don't. As you animate, you'll end up with thousands of layers. You're not going to go back in the same way we normally do though, so it's going to be okay. Don't be like, oh, layer 252. No, it's okay. It's all visual, this one, so it's fine for us to only layer the video group, which is how we roll. So we've got our layer one, but we need a video group. If you've got your toolbar open, you can click the V button to make your video group and drag your layer in. Or if you're not using that, you can click on the little video film reel icon and click new video from clips. Either works fine, it's all good as long as it's within your video group. This we can label though. So I'm gonna call this ease in and we'll talk about what's up there actually. And before we get started, we're gonna make this a little bit smaller. At the moment, it's on 4 seconds. That's not really what we're looking for right now. So I'm just going to zoom in with my little bar down here. And if you've noticed, there's something that says 1F, 2F, 3F. That's how many frames there are. So we could animate on 1 frame. I'm just going to click the snip so we can cut this off here. We can animate on 1 frame, but that's 1 image, 1 drawn picture, a section, which can be long, but it normally looks really nice and smooth. Or like what we're going to do, by dragging it out, we're going to go for 2 frames a second. So we won't need to do that much to end up with the same goal. Wonderful. 3 lines, aka hamburger menu. Yes. The good old hamburger. Okay, so we've got layer 1. That's great. What do we do now? Well, first, we kind of need to set up a few things. Here's our workspace plugin setup ting. Let's say we draw something. Doesn't really matter what it is. We draw a line. We want to have a new frame. We'll click number 2. That will give us a new frame. And now we've got a completely blank frame that we can do something on, but I can't see the frame beforehand. That's where we need our onion skin. So if we click on this O without the 3 dots or the hamburger, we can actually see the frame that was before it, which is great because if we need to do some movement, now we can tell where it was. We're going to be going through this quite a lot, but it's good for us to know the basics. Now you notice that when we do use the onion skin, it does kind of make the background a different color. So if we don't want that, we can click on the options, change the blend mode to normal, and now we can still see the background without it actually changing color, but we can still see the drawings that we did before as well. Later, you might find that you prefer to change the opacity, the min opacity, or the frames before, which we probably will do as we go further in. And if you're having a hard time seeing your image, let's say we make another, doing it in 2s. So we click 2. Let's say we can't see the one that we're working on. Oh, interesting. We've got an interesting moment. So let's say you can't see the one that you're working on. There's a really useful thing that you can do, which is using the R, G, and B. So if we click on R, it's going to temporarily color our layer, which means when we look at it with the opacity on, we'll be able to see it really, really clear. Same for whichever one we're working on. We can change any of the colors to make it a little bit easier for us to see. And this blank square will remove it for us. Very, very helpful. Next piece before we actually get on to the movement is the setup. So we can press the play button for it to go through. Press escape for it to stop if it's not doing it on its own. Or if you don't want to have the loop on, you can turn off loop playback so it only does it once. But it might be a lot of work for us to be going in and out to try to pick a new picture. There we go. To pick a new picture or a new frame each time when we just want to draw easily. So we're going to set up some workspace keyboard shortcuts to make this happen. I'd like you to go to Edit, head over to your keyboard shortcuts, make sure you're in panel menus and scroll on down to timeline video. If you set your previous frame to F1 and your next frame to F5, you can put it to anything you like, of course. But for the sake of this, you can use this example. Welcome, Easy, animator extraordinaire. How are you? Oh, we're doing more animations in Photoshop Easy, so we can continue from where we left off. And if you scroll down, you'll see you've got enable onion skins. If you put that to F3 or wherever you like, we can move on to the next bit. So now if I ever want to turn on my onion skin, let's color these so we can see what we're doing. All I have to do is click F3. So now I don't actually have to worry. I don't need to go up. I can put it on, turn it off, see what I need to do. Wonderful. Music's coming a bit loud. Let me turn this down there. Thank you. If we press F1, we can see that it hops back one frame. Not bad if we actually had one frame. And if we click F5, it hops forward one frame. Not bad if we have one frame, but we don't. We got 2 frames. That's what we're working on. So we need to make our own shortcut. If you open up your actions, go to Windows. That's not Windows. Okay. If you click on Window, click on Actions, you see that I've got some already, but we'll make a new one. Click on the folder, call it whatever you like. Call it Go Back. Click on the plus button and yay, we're here. I'm really good. I've been really enjoying animating in Photoshop. It's been very freeing to use the brushes that I want to use, you know? Okay, so I'm going to call it Go Back again. Here's where the shortcut really comes in. The function key can be whatever you like it to be. Right now, mine is set to F2, but for this example, I'm going to say F6 because something's already on there. You can add all of these on if you want to, whatever makes it easy for you to click. So I'm going to say yes. I don't actually use any of the actual shortcuts, so I don't mind overwriting anything. And what we're going to do, one, make sure you're... Oh, am I going back? I am. Which one goes back for me? F1, right? Let me make sure that that's clean. Start my recording. We're going to click the shortcut that goes back. So for me, that's F1. But we're going to click it twice. And then we end the recording. So now, if we move it, I don't know, to the front of one of these and we press F6, it goes back twice. Perfect. We need to do that once more for go forward, and then we can move on to the next half. So we'll click the folder again. We can say go forward. Go fish. And we can call it whatever function key we like. I'll say F7 for now. And then we use our go forward twice. That was F5 for me. 1, 2. We end the recording. And now if you press F6 or F7, it's going to hop forward and back for us. We're only doing this because there isn't already a function like this. So we're going to make this as Adobe Animate as possible while keeping our awesome texture with our brushes. All right. So I think we're good enough to... Oh, Easy said, I'll get back to this with you shortly. Ooh, It's always nice hearing people like on a project. I don't know, it makes you want to start a project too, you know? Okay, so I want to clear these. If I click on one, let me take off the color of these again. Let's check what our keys actually do. It does clear the layer content. That's great. We could probably just delete these, I think. Okay, and I will clear this one. So, first things first, we're going to talk about ease in, linear, and ease out. Or, in other words, accelerate like a car, start slow, moves forward, linear, which is maintain, something that maintains the speed, like an airplane, doesn't go fast and slow halfway in the air, it always stays the same. And the same with ease out, which is just decelerate. But those words were too long to look cute in this form, so we're going with ease in, linear, and ease out. I'm just going to adjust my brush size, and we're going to talk about ease in. So we've made our video group called ease in. We don't need to label the layers, thankfully this time, because there's too many. So with my brush tool selected, I'm going to draw anywhere. Doesn't really matter where we do it. If you want to draw bigger, please go ahead and do the same on your bigger section. We could, probably should, but here we are. So we've got our first frame. Lovely. In order for us to make it look like it's moving slow to fast, we have to work on our spacing. Spacing is this. The gap between the two images is the spacing. So the closer the spaces are, the slower it looks like it's moving. The further away that it is, the faster it looks like it's moving. So we need it to move slowly to start, then go fast. So for that, we need it to be close together first. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because that gives me more workspace. And we're working on twos. So we'll click our twos. We've got a new key. I'm going to click my button that makes me go forward. And I'm also going to turn on my onion skin. Now it's kind of faded. So I'm going to turn on, we don't want 4 of that. I think 1 is actually okay. We could totally up the color. What I might do is just color this for now. There we go. So the space hasn't been decided because we don't have a space yet. So our second one will be our space. So let's say I'm going to put it here. Cool. Got my second. We got it here. Lovely. We've been given a space now. So if we can see, we've kind of got a space between these two is our space. So we're going to do 2 again. Let's move forward. We kind of want to see what was before it too. So if we open our onion skin and say we want to see 4 frames before, this way we can see what we did earlier and what we did before that. So my last space was around here. I need it to double in size or around about, but we can't have the space stay the same. It has to double a little bit. So if it's like this, double is about yay big. So I'd say it's probably around here. And if we like, we can go back and forward just to check that out. And then we have to double it in size yet again. So let's hit our 2s, move over a little bit. We can see the space was about like that. So we want double of that. So possibly about here, I think. It's no longer touching. Make sure we're on the right layer. Now we've got some space in between it. For those that do animate already, we are animating in straight ahead. A quick breakdown of what straight ahead is animating without a plan, which means we don't really know where it's going or where it's going to end up apart from in our mind. But what we will do in the line practice is animate pose to pose, which means we have a plan. We know where it wants to end up, maybe what time it should end up, and all that jazz. Attack it, we're animating in Photoshop. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to double it in size yet again. So let's make another frame. Move over. That's F4 for me. And we want to double this space. So double that space is about yay big. So if I eyeball it, maybe around here, I'd say. About there. And let's say we keep going till it gets to the end. So let's hit another 2, move it over again. Double of this. Seems like it'll be over here to me. And we can have one more just so it's got a nice empty space. Yeah, you can, which is really cool, Ataku, because it means you can use really cool brushes, of which I'm not using. What's happening? There we go. That's the brush I want to use. Look at me, not even using the right brush. Wow. And I go to my libraries, grab my brush while I'm at it. But yes, Ataku, you can animate in it. You can actually animate exactly like After Effects. We're doing it frame by frame, so more like Adobe Animate right now, but you can actually animate exactly like After Effects, and I'll show us after this. Okie doke. So let's take off the color of this layer. Otherwise that will distract us. And if we hit the space bar or press play, it looks like one of these is colored. Hold on, let me take that off there. You okay? I think I drew it with that color, you know? I think I drew it with that color. Let me overdo that. Oh, yes, of course. My brush is different. I can't believe I didn't notice that till just now. Like, how did I not notice this? F3, we're around here by the looks of it. I think we're around there. There we go. Okay, there we go. Hi, Silver. Forever the winner. All right. So now if we press the play button, maybe put the loop on it, we've got something that looks like it goes slow and then woo, moves a little bit faster. Wow. If you want, you can make it even more dramatic by adding more layers in between and making them really, really close together, which means it will inch out even more, which will make it look even slower. But we're going to move on to linear. And by having these lined up, you'll really be able to see that despite the fact that the time of when it happens is the same, it looks different. I've just dragged this out a little bit. Ease in on the circle, ease out on the breast. I mean, where are these tops with these anecdotes? We need these. Currently dropping off food. Oh, wait. Oh, of course, Silver. Of course, Silver. Right, so we need another video group. Think of it like a composition if you're coming from After Effects. So we can click on the V. We've got our new video group. I'm going to call this linear or just lin. And we need to make a new set of twos. How do we make something maintain the speed? We know to, first of all, to accelerate, all we have to do, oop, our opacity on the brush is low too. All we have to do is increase the spacing by double. That's what makes things look like they're accelerating. So to make things linear, we can hide the ease in as well. To make things linear, all we have to do is keep the same spacing. So let's draw whatever we like here. I've got one circle. I'm going to hit my twos, move over a tad, make sure we can see where it was. Let's say this is our space. This right here, this is our gap. That's our spacing. If we want it to look like it's not speeding up, not slowing down, looking exactly the same, we just need to keep that space the same size. So let's move over. It's about there. And one useful tip that my sister told me is try drawing with your arm, not with your wrist. Draw with your arm. For those of you out there that are a bit like me, where you're like, oh, I'm going to do it like this, really tiny drawing, of which she's drawing giant, tiny circles. Do it with your arm. You'll have more functionality, especially really helpful for when you're... Oh, really? Wow, so you were telling the truth. Robert, I don't know why. I thought it was much longer than that. I thought this was half an hour. Right, we've got 2 minutes left. So keep all of this the same size. I think I didn't check something properly. So we've got our 2. Well, I guess you see what maintain looks like. Before we disappear then, for you to do deceleration, make sure you do the acceleration in reverse. So let's say you've got a really big gap. All you want to do is half it. So you take this to here, then the next one will be even smaller, the next one's even smaller, and the next one's even smaller. Goodness, I hope that was helpful. I really do hope that was helpful. So we went over how to get your plugin, how to get your workplace set up. We've also got your mini games for you. You've got acceleration, deceleration to try. Once you've done those, try making a line and try to accelerate and decelerate in various places. Cool. So stick around because Terry White is coming up next with photo compositing. See you later. Bye. Hello, Light. Victoria Pavlov. Excuse me.